The breaking point. The quantum communications array on Centauri 4 crackled to life on what should have been an ordinary morning. Governor Sarah Chen stood before the holographic projection, her weathered face illuminated by the harsh purple glow of the Vraxian diplomatic seal. She already knew what was coming. More demands, more threats, more impossible quotas from an empire that saw human colonies as nothing but resource deposits to be drained. Your production quotas have been adjusted, announced High Commander Kexlar, his scaled face filling the projection. Multiple rows of eyes blinked in what humans had learned to recognize as contempt. The Empire requires triple the current output of rare earth elements. You have 30 standard days to comply. Chen's fingers dug into her palms, but her voice remained steady. High Commander, with all due respect, we're already operating at maximum capacity. Our environmental impact studies show that tripling production would render the planet uninhabitable within 5 years. Surely the Empire doesn't wish to destroy a valuable mining colony. The Vraxians' throat sacs pulsed with amusement. Your environmental concerns are irrelevant. The Empire's needs supersede your primitive preservation instincts. You will comply, or we will find others who will. The threat hung in the air like a storm cloud. Everyone knew what finding others meant. They'd seen it happen to the colonies that resisted. Orbital bombardment, mass deportations, entire populations replaced with more cooperative species. But Centauri 4 was different. It was humanity's most successful extrasolar colony, home to 3 million souls who'd built something precious here. The colony's massive biodomes stretched across the planet's northern continent, a testament to human engineering and determination. They'd transformed a hostile world into a home, creating a delicate balance between industry and ecology. Chen looked at the faces of her advisory council gathered around the chamber. Engineers, scientists, community leaders, people who'd spent their lives building this colony. She saw the same resolution in their eyes that she felt in her heart. High Commander, she said, her voice carrying the weight of 3 million lives, we must respectfully decline. The Vraxians' multiple eyes narrowed to slits. You dare refuse a direct imperial mandate. We dare to protect our home and our future, Chen replied. We're willing to negotiate reasonable quotas that don't destroy the very resources you seek. We can find a solution that benefits both. Enough. Kexlar's voice boomed through the chamber. Your species' arrogance has finally exceeded our patience. You were given an opportunity to serve the Empire. Now you will serve as an example. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the chamber in darkness. Warning klaxons began to wail throughout the colony. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. The defense coordinator announced, his voice tight with tension. Vraxian warships, at least 30 capital-class vessels. Chen's mind raced through options that were rapidly disappearing. The colony's defenses were designed to handle pirates and raiders, not an imperial battle fleet. They had a handful of orbital platforms, a small squadron of fighters, and determination. It wouldn't be enough. Not against what was coming. Emergency broadcast to Earth, she ordered, her voice carrying across the chaos of the command center. Full situation report. Tell them. She paused, knowing these might be her last words to humanity's homeworld. Tell them we stood our ground. The next hours wrote themselves in fire across Centauri 4's sky. The Vraxian ships methodically destroyed every orbital defense, every communications array, every spacecraft that tried to escape. They were precise, clinical, making sure the colony watched its hopes of rescue or resistance die one by one. Then they started on the biodomes. From her position in the emergency bunker, Chen watched the live streams with her people, watched as plasma beams punctured the massive environmental shields that protected their cities, watched as the atmosphere vented into space, as carefully cultivated forests froze and shattered, as 30 years of human achievement was systematically erased. The Vraxians were thorough. They didn't just want to destroy the colony. They wanted to make sure no one could ever rebuild here. Their weapons carved deep into the planet's crust, disrupting the very geological processes that made the mining operations possible. As the bunker's power finally failed and emergency lights bathed everything in red, Shen sent one final message toward Earth. It contained detailed scans of the Vraxian fleet, their attack patterns, their weapons capabilities, everything that might help prevent this from happening again. She encoded it in a quantum burst transmission, using the bunker's last reserves of power. The message ended with 6 words: "They must not get away with this." The destruction of Centauri 4 took less than a day. The Vraxian fleet departed as quickly as it had arrived, leaving behind a ruined world and a clear message to humanity: submit or be destroyed. But they had miscalculated. Badly. What the Vraxians didn't know, what no alien empire had discovered, was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for over a century. Deep in classified facilities across the solar system, Earth's greatest minds had been studying every scrap of alien technology they could acquire, reverse engineering and improving upon it in ways that would have shocked their supposed superiors. When news of Centauri 4's destruction reached Earth, it triggered a response that had been waiting for generations. In hidden shipyards throughout the Kuiper Belt, vast fleets of warships began powering up their systems. In hardened bunkers beneath the lunar surface, military commanders reviewed battle plans that had been refined for decades. Humanity had learned from history, from countless examples of what happened to civilizations that weren't ready to defend themselves. They had built their civilian colonies to look primitive and unthreatening, while pouring resources into secret military research and development. The Vraxians thought they had just crushed a defenseless mining colony. Instead, they had provided the catalyst for humanity's carefully planned emergence onto the galactic stage. In the aftermath of Centauri 4's destruction, Earth's response was not the panic or submission the Vraxians expected. Instead, a single encrypted message was broadcast on all frequencies used by the Empire. "You believe you have taught humanity a lesson. You are correct, but not the one you intended. We have learned that peace is impossible with those who only understand force. We have learned that mercy is wasted on the merciless. Most importantly, we have learned exactly how to hurt you. You thought Earth would stay silent. You were wrong. We are coming." The message was dismissed as empty bravado by Imperial Command. After all, what could these primitives possibly do against the might of the Vraxian Empire? They were about to find out. Silent thunder. Deep within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Admiral Helena Drake stood in the command center of Bastion Alpha, Earth's most closely guarded secret. The massive hollowed-out asteroid housed not just a military base, but the nerve center of humanity's true military might. Around her, hundreds of officers and analysts worked at their stations, coordinating the greatest mobilization in human history. The tactical display before her showed the true scope of Operation Prometheus. Over 10,000 ships hidden throughout the solar system, each more advanced than anything the Vraxian Empire had ever encountered. But that was just the first wave. "Status report on the Ghost Fleet," Drake commanded, her voice carrying the authority earned through 30 years of preparing for this moment. Colonel James Chen, Sarah Chen's brother, stepped forward, his face hard with controlled rage. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The quantum drives are spooled and stealth systems are nominal. The Vraxians won't see us coming until it's too late." Drake nodded, studying the holographic display of their first target, a major Vraxian supply hub just outside their core territories. And the new weapon systems. The gravitic lance cannons have been successfully integrated into all capital ships, James replied. "Lab tests suggest they'll tear right through Vraxian shields." They never bothered to develop countermeasures against weapons they thought impossible to create. That was the advantage of being underestimated. While the various alien empires watched humanity's civilian colonies with dismissive amusement, Earth's military scientists had been hard at work. They'd taken fragments of alien technology, combined them with human ingenuity, and created something entirely new. The doors to the command center slid open as Director Emma Santos of Earth Intelligence entered. Her presence immediately drew attention. She rarely left her secure facility beneath the lunar surface. "Admiral," Santos announced, "we've finished decrypting the last transmission from Centauri 4. Governor Chen managed to send us everything. Detailed scans of their fleet composition, weapons signatures, shield frequencies. She gave us exactly what we need to hurt them." Drake's jaw tightened. Sarah Chen had been her friend, a fellow architect of humanity's hidden strength. Her sacrifice would not be in vain. "Show me their fleet movements," Drake ordered. The tactical display shifted, revealing the positions of major Vraxian battle groups. Their arrogance made them predictable. They never bothered to hide their movements, never imagining that anyone would dare strike at them. "Their command and control structure is hierarchical and rigid," Santos explained. "Each battle group maintains constant communication with Imperial Command. If we can disrupt that chain, they'll be isolated and confused." Drake finished. Perfect. The plan had been decades in the making. Earth's strategists had studied every conflict in recorded history, learning from both victories and defeats. They knew that superior technology alone wasn't enough. They needed to strike at the enemy's fundamental weaknesses. The Vraxian Empire had grown fat and complacent on easy victories. They relied on overwhelming force against weaker opponents, had never faced an enemy that could match their technological level. Their entire military doctrine was based on the assumption of superiority. That assumption was about to be their undoing. "Begin Phase 1, Drake commanded. Throughout the solar system, hidden shipyards rumbled to life. Ships that had been waiting in darkness for years powered up their systems. Weapons that defied the Empire's understanding of physics were armed and primed. "Message from Earth Command," an officer announced. The Security Council's vote was unanimous. "We have authorization to proceed with full operational discretion." Drake allowed herself a grim smile. The civilian government had been prepared for this moment too. There would be no hesitation, no political interference. Humanity would move as one. "Send the coded signal to all cells in Imperial space," she ordered. For generations, Earth had been secretly placing agents throughout the Empire. Observers, data gatherers, and saboteurs waiting for activation. "Tell them to begin systematic disruption of Imperial communications and sensor networks. I want them blind when we arrive." James Chen stepped closer to the tactical display, studying the planned attack vectors. "The Vraxians think they know everything about us, our capabilities, our technology level, our military doctrine. Everything they know is wrong." "That was the point," Santos replied. "Every public database, every civilian installation, every piece of technology we let them see. It was all carefully crafted to maintain the deception. We needed them to believe we were primitive, harmless." Drake touched a control, bringing up the image of Centauri 4, now a ruined world. "They thought destroying one colony would break our spirit. Instead, they've given us unity of purpose. Every human in the galaxy now understands what we're fighting for." The command center hummed with activity as final preparations were made. Ships moved into position, crews ran last-minute checks, weapons were brought to full readiness. The greatest military operation in human history was about to begin. "Time to primary target," Drake asked. "Ghost Fleet can be in position within 6 hours," James reported. "The quantum drives are performing better than expected. We'll catch them completely off guard." Drake nodded, her mind already running through the countless scenarios they'd gamed out. "Send word to all fleet commanders. Operation Prometheus is now active. Primary objectives are to cripple their supply lines, isolate their battle groups, and demonstrate our technological superiority. I want them to understand exactly how badly they've miscalculated." Throughout the asteroid base, klaxons sounded as crews rushed to their ships. The massive doors of hidden hangars began to open, revealing vessels that would have seemed impossible by the Empire's understanding of physics. "One last thing," Drake announced to the command staff. "When we strike, I want them to know who we are and why we're coming. Broadcast on all Imperial frequencies. Text only, No source tracking possible. Message reads, "You believed Earth would submit. You were wrong. This is humanity's response to Centauri 4. We are coming for everything." The die was cast. Humanity's vengeance was about to be unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Operation Daybreak. The Vraxian supply hub at Nexus 7 was a marvel of Imperial engineering. Massive space stations orbited a captured asteroid, processing resources from 100 conquered worlds. Defense platforms bristled with weapons, while patrol ships maintained a constant vigil against pirates and raiders. None of them detected the human fleet until it was too late. Captain Maya Rodriguez watched from the bridge of the Edodo's Hyperion as her ship's quantum sensors mapped the Imperial defenses. The Hyperion was humanity's newest class of warship, incorporating technology that the Vraxians had deemed theoretically impossible. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer announced. "Ghost Fleet is in position." No signs of detection. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. The Empire's sensors were searching for conventional engine signatures, warp distortions, or radiation emissions. They had no way to detect the quantum displacement drives that humans had developed in secret. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Throughout the fleet, specialized electronic warfare suites powered up. The Empire was about to learn just how vulnerable their communications networks really were. In the command center on Nexus 7, Overseer Kextall was the first to notice something wrong. His neural interface with the station's systems began showing impossible readings. Defense platforms reported phantom targets, then went dark. Communication channels filled with static. "What's happening?" he demanded, his throat sacs pulsing with agitation. "Get me contact with Imperial Command." Unable to establish connection, his subordinate reported, mandibles clicking nervously. "All quantum comm channels are being jammed. This shouldn't be possible." Kextall's multiple eyes widened as new contacts appeared on his tactical display. Ships materializing from nowhere, already inside the defense perimeter. Their design was unlike anything in Imperial records. "Battle stations," he roared. "All ships engage." His order was cut short as the first human gravitic lance struck. The beam of concentrated gravitational force passed through the station's shields as if they didn't exist, tearing a massive hole through multiple decks. Atmosphere vented into space as emergency bulkheads slammed shut. Aboard the Hyperion, Rodriguez watched the chaos unfold with cold satisfaction. "Target their fuel processing facilities," she commanded. "Disable, don't destroy. We want them to see exactly what we can do." Human warships moved with impossible precision, their advanced AI systems coordinating attacks down to the microsecond. Gravitic lances carved through Imperial defenses, while quantum torpedoes phase-shifted through shields to detonate inside vital systems. The Vraxian patrol ships tried to respond, but their weapons were useless against human defensive systems. Plasma beams dissipated harmlessly against quantum shields while railgun rounds were caught and disintegrated by point defense gravity fields. Imperial reinforcements detected, tactical reported. 3 battle groups entering the system. Rodriguez nodded. This was expected, planned for. Launch Strike Package Alpha. From the holds of human carriers, swarms of autonomous combat drones emerged. Each one carried more computing power than an entire Imperial battle group, their quantum processors running combat algorithms that adapted in real time. The Imperial reinforcements found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to predict their every move. Drone swarms flowed around their formations like liquid metal, exploiting every weakness in their defenses. Capital ships that had terrorized countless civilizations were systematically stripped of their weapons, engines, and communications. Message from Admiral Drake. Communications announced. Phase 2 is go. They're completely isolated from Imperial Command. Rodriguez turned to her executive officer. Broadcast the prepared statement on all frequencies. Let's make sure they understand exactly what's happening. Throughout the system, every Imperial computer terminal, every neural interface, every communication device received the same message. To all Imperial forces, You believed Earth to be primitive, weak, incapable of challenging your dominance. That belief was by design. While you watched our civilian colonies with contempt, we studied your technology, improved upon it, and developed weapons you never imagined possible. The destruction of Centauri 4 was not the beginning of our submission. It was the end of our patience. This is not a war for territory or resources. This is humanity teaching the galaxy a lesson about underestimating us. Surrender, and you will be treated according to human laws of war. Resist, and you will learn exactly how advanced we really are. In the Hyperion's tactical display, Rodriguez watched as Imperial ships began powering down their weapons. The message had its intended effect. Faced with an enemy that could negate their every advantage, the Vraxians were choosing survival. "Status report," she ordered. "All primary targets neutralized," Tactical responded. "Minimal casualties on both sides. We've achieved total spectrum dominance. The system is ours." Rodriguez allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. This was just the first strike, a demonstration of what humanity could do. The real campaign was about to begin. "Send word to Admiral Drake," she commanded. "Nexus 7 is secured, ready to begin Phase 3. Throughout the system, human ships began repositioning for the next stage of the operation. Engineering teams moved to secure Imperial technology and databases, while medical ships provided aid to surrendered crews. The Empire was about to learn that humanity's response to Centauri 4 wouldn't be limited to one system. This was the beginning of a campaign that would reshape the galaxy's balance of power. In her private quarters later, Rodriguez reviewed the battle footage. Every engagement, every tactical decision would be analyzed and used to improve their strategies. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, and they would not waste the advantage of surprise. The next target was already selected, a major Imperial shipyard that supplied warships to 3 sectors. Its destruction would cripple the Empire's ability to project power across a significant portion of their territory. But more importantly, it would continue the message that humanity was sending. We are not what you thought we were. We are not weak. We are not primitive. We are humanity, and we have been waiting for this moment. The heart of the Empire. Supreme Commander Ixal stood before the Imperial High Council, his scales dulled with exhaustion. The holographic displays around him showed the impossible, system after system falling to the human offensive. Their greatest weapons rendered useless, their strongest defenses bypassed, their most brilliant strategies countered before they could even be implemented. "How?" demanded Emperor Vexthor, his ceremonial armor doing little to hide his agitation. "How did we not see this coming?" "They deceived us all," Ixal responded, his voice heavy. "Every piece of intelligence, every observation, every analysis, it was all part of their deception. They showed us exactly what they wanted us to see." The council chamber fell silent as tactical projections updated in real time. Human fleets moved with devastating precision, striking critical infrastructure and vanishing before effective resistance could be mounted. The Empire's mighty industrial machine was being systematically dismantled. Meanwhile, aboard the Aegis Nemesis, Admiral Drake reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Vraxian Empire was finally beginning to understand the true scope of their miscalculation. Their defensive lines are collapsing faster than predicted. Director Santos reported, her holographic presence flickering slightly. "Our deep cover agents report mass confusion in their command structure. They can't adapt to our tactical flexibility." Drake nodded, studying the strategic display. "And the civilian population?" Responding exactly as anticipated. The Empire's control was built on fear and perceived invincibility. Now that both are crumbling, centuries of suppressed resentment are surfacing. That had been part of the plan from the beginning. Humanity hadn't just studied Vraxian technology. They'd studied their society, their culture, their history. They knew exactly where to strike to cause maximum disruption with minimal civilian casualties. On the Vraxian homeworld of Apex Prime, Those disruptions were becoming impossible to ignore. Civil unrest spread through the lower levels of their towering cities as food shipments were delayed and luxury goods became scarce. The privileged upper castes found their neural networks increasingly unreliable, their automated servants malfunctioning, their carefully ordered society showing cracks. High Commander Kexlar, the very same who had ordered the destruction of Centauri 4, now faced the consequences of his actions. His private bunker, deep beneath the capital city, offered no escape from the reality of his situation. "They're not just defeating us," he reported to the Emperor's inner circle. "They're dismantling everything we built. Our supply lines, our communication networks, our very way of life. They're taking it all apart piece by piece." Through quantum-encrypted channels, Earth's leadership discussed the next phase of the operation. The campaign wasn't just about military victory. It was about reshaping the galaxy's power structure. "The Empire's vassal worlds are declaring independence," Colonel Chen reported, his face grim but satisfied. "Our demonstrations of force have convinced them that the Empire can no longer protect them or threaten them." Drake turned to the tactical display, where hundreds of human ships were assembling for the final push, and our own diplomatic initiatives. "Proceeding as planned. The independent worlds are receptive to our proposed mutual defense treaty. They've seen how we fight, not for conquest, but for justice. It's a message that resonates." That was the crucial difference between humanity and the Empire. Where the Vraxians sought to dominate, humanity offered partnership. Where they demanded submission, Earth extended a hand in alliance. Back on Apex Prime, Emperor Vexthor faced a decision that would echo through history. His advisors were divided. Some called for unconditional surrender. Others demanded they fight to the last warrior. "The humans have not destroyed any civilian populations," one counselor noted, "even when they had the capability. Even after what we did to their colony. They're demonstrating strength through restraint," another added. "Everything they've done has been precise, calculated, designed to show us exactly what they could do if they chose to be cruel." The Emperor's multiple eyes narrowed as he studied reports from the front lines. The humans were pushing closer to the homeworld, but they were being selective in their targets. Military installations were crippled with surgical precision, while civilian infrastructure was left untouched. In orbit around a gas giant near the Empire's core worlds, Captain Rodriguez and the Hyperion led a task force on a crucial mission. Their target was the Empire's primary quantum communications hub, the facility that coordinated all faster-than-light communications across their territory. "All ships in position," Tactical reported. "No sign they've detected us." Rodriguez nodded, remembering the ruins of Centauri 4. "Begin the operation. Remember, minimal casualties. We're not here for revenge. We're here to create a better future." The assault was textbook perfect. Human ships appeared simultaneously at multiple points around the facility, their weapons already targeting critical systems. The Imperial defenders found their weapons neutralized, their shields bypassed, their escape routes blocked. Within hours, the hub was under human control. Instead of destroying it, engineering teams began repurposing it, transforming it from a tool of Imperial control into a means of free communication across the galaxy. As news of the hub's capture spread, the Empire's remaining facade of control crumbled. Without the ability to coordinate their forces or maintain their information monopoly, the truth became impossible to suppress. The truth was simple. Humanity had not just defeated the Empire's military. They had rendered their entire system of control obsolete. Every assumption, every advantage, every certainty the Vraxians had relied upon had been systematically disproven. Admiral Drake received the message he had been waiting for. The Emperor requested direct communication. The final phase of Operation Prometheus was about to begin. "Put him through," she ordered, straightening in her command chair. "Let's show them what real civilization looks like." Dawn of a new era. The Grand Hall of the Imperial Palace on Apex Prime had never witnessed anything like this moment. Where once only Vraxian nobility would dare to tread, representatives from across the galaxy now gathered. Humans stood alongside former Imperial subjects, resistance leaders next to reformed Imperial officers, all watching as history was being made. Admiral Drake faced Emperor Vexthor across a simple table, not the ornate throne he usually occupied. It was a deliberate choice, symbolic of the changes sweeping through the galaxy. "Your terms are unexpected," the Emperor admitted, his voice carrying none of its former arrogance. "We anticipated demands for territory, resources, reparations. That's not who we are," Drake replied calmly. "We didn't fight this war to become the new empire. We fought to ensure that no one would ever again believe they could dominate others with impunity." The terms were indeed revolutionary. Earth demanded not tribute or submission, but transformation. The Vraxian Empire would be dismantled, replaced by a galactic council where all species would have equal representation. Former imperial territories would be given the choice of independence or voluntary association with the new order. Most shocking to the Vraxians was humanity's approach to their technology. Instead of hoarding their advanced developments, Earth offered to share them, under conditions that ensured they would be used for the benefit of all. "You could have destroyed us," Vexthor observed, his multiple eyes studying Drake intently. "Your weapons, your technology, you could have done to us what we did to your colonies." "That would have made us no better than you were," Drake answered. "Earth's goal was never destruction. We want to build something better, together." On screens across the galaxy, billions watched as the Emperor of the most powerful empire in known space signed the Treaty of New Dawn. It was more than a peace agreement. It was a complete reimagining of galactic civilization. Aboard the EWS Hyperion, Captain Rodriguez watched the ceremony with her crew. "Send word to the construction teams at Centauri 4, she ordered. "It's time to begin the restoration." The rebuilding of Centauri 4 would become a symbol of the new era, what the Empire had destroyed. A united galaxy would restore. Teams of human, Vraxian, and other species engineers worked together, combining their knowledge to heal the wounded planet. In the ruins of the old colony, Sarah Chen's brother James stood watching the first new biodome take shape. A Vraxian engineer approached him, one of many who had volunteered for the project, seeking to atone for their species' actions. "We found something in the rubble of the command center," the engineer said, offering a small data crystal. "I thought you should have it." The crystal contained Sarah's personal log, her final thoughts before the attack. James activated it with trembling hands, and his sister's hologram appeared. "If you're seeing this," Sarah's image said, "then either we survived, or Earth finally showed its true strength. I hope it's the latter. The Empire needs to learn that peaceful doesn't mean weak, that choosing not to fight isn't the same as being unable to fight." She smiled, as if seeing the future that her sacrifice had helped create. "Whatever happens, remember this. We didn't break. We didn't submit. We showed them what humanity really is." In the decades that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation unprecedented in its history. The quantum communications hub that humanity had captured became the backbone of a new information network, allowing free exchange of knowledge and ideas across the stars. Former imperial worlds, freed from centuries of oppression, developed their own unique paths forward. Some chose complete independence, others joined the growing galactic alliance that Earth had helped establish. The Vraxians themselves underwent a cultural revolution. Young generations, inspired by humanity's example, pushed their society toward reform. The rigid caste system crumbled, replaced by more egalitarian structures. Their technological prowess, once used for domination, was redirected toward exploration and discovery. Admiral Drake eventually retired from military service, but not before overseeing the transformation of Earth's secret fleet into a peacekeeping force. The ships that had once hidden in the shadows now openly patrolled trade routes, protecting merchant vessels and responding to distress calls from any species. On the 10th anniversary of the Treaty of New Dawn, representatives from across the galaxy gathered at the restored Centauri 4 colony. The new biodomes stretched further than the originals ever had, gleaming under the alien sun. Inside them, children of a dozen species played together in parks that had been rebuilt from ashes. During the ceremony, Director Santos, now an elder stateswoman, gave a speech that would be remembered for generations. 10 years ago, we showed the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, our weapons, or even our ability to deceive. Our greatest strength is our vision, our ability to see beyond conflict to cooperation, beyond victory to peace, beyond the present to a better future. We could have become the very thing we fought against. Instead, we chose a harder path, the path of turning enemies into allies, of transforming destruction into creation, of building bridges where others built walls. Let Centauri 4 stand forever as a reminder. The true measure of a civilization isn't its ability to wage war, but its capacity to forge peace. Not its power to destroy, but its commitment to rebuild. Not its skill at deception, but its dedication to truth. As night fell on the colony, the stars shone down on a galaxy forever changed. The empire that had once seemed invincible was gone, but in its place stood something far stronger, a community of worlds working together, learning from each other, growing together. Humanity had proven itself not just as warriors, but as teachers, healers, and builders. They had shown the galaxy that true strength lies not in the ability to dominate, but in the wisdom to lift others up. And in the darkness between the stars, Earth's ships still patrolled, not to conquer or control, but to protect and preserve the peace that had been so dearly won, ready to remind anyone who might forget the lesson the Empire had learned. Humanity would always rise to defend its values, and it would always fight not just to win, but to build a better future for all.